Hello, dears. Hello, welcome to the Mary Rose Sweden. That's my TikTok name, Mary Rose Swedish Chapters. That's my YouTube name. Yes, those of you who are new here, my name is Mary C, a Ugandan living in Sweden. Yes, dears, before we start, I would like to ask you to share, like, and even consider subscribing. Yes, then you can push me, higher. Yes, I want to, to be big, and yes, I'll be happy if you help me with that. Yes, so dears, what are we going to talk about today? Yes, today we are going to talk about Uganda versus Swedish hospitality. Yes, and what shocked me. Yes, yeah, that's our topic. Dears, imagine visiting someone's home. Yes, dears. So in Uganda, you might be offered food even before you sit down. In Sweden, you might not get anything at all. Yes, you might wonder, but I've lived in both, worlds, both cultures. So I know the differences, and dears, the differences might shock you. So let's dears, I must say that one of the, biggest culture differences or shocks, wasn't weather. No, you might think it was weather, but no, it wasn't weather. But, it was how people welcomed me in their homes. Yes, and how was that? So, dears, I have to say that in Uganda, hospitality is not an optional. No, dears, it's a way of life. Yes, when people visit, you are they are welcomed warmly, and even if they come unannounced, food is like almost guaranteed, and the visitors are treated with great respect. Yes, dears, I have to point out that even if the family has little, they will share it with you. Yes, I remember when I was growing up, if a guest came, my mother would, immediately, start preparing something, even if it's a cup of tea or, like bananas, they were, people are expected to share, and mostly with guests, they treated them with much respect and care. Yes. So, that's, the order of the day. That's the culture down in Uganda. Yes, dears. So our visitors, is like a blessing. Yes, people are happy to receive visitors. Dears, let's come to the part, when I came to Sweden. Yes, Swedish hospitality. Yes. So, things were different, or things are different. Here, visitors are planned in advance. Yes, you don't just automatically, show up, or you don't automatically, get food. People respect personal, like space and independence. Yes, just mark those words. Yes, the first time I visited someone and wasn't offered food, I was kind of confused. But over time, I understood, something important. Yes, dears, this wasn't rudeness. No, it was like out of, it was culture. It was culture. It is the culture. Let's get to the part. Let me call it part 3. The culture meaning in hospitality. Hospitality. In Uganda means sharing, is community togetherness. But if we, bring Sweden, hospitality is like respect. Boundaries. You don't, impose things on people. No, you just give them space. Yes, dear. So Swedes don't want to make you uncomfortable and like feel obligated. No, they are very careful about that. And Ugandans don't want you to feel welcomed, and differences are in values. How we look at things, and there are good intentions in both cultures. Yes, that's how I see it. Let me talk about my personal realization. I had to learn not to judge, but just to understand the culture, the new culture, the Swedish culture. I can appreciate Swedish, structure, and yeah, I can respect that. But still, I carry on, Ugandan warmth, you know, in my heart. Yes. I still carry, I was born Ugandan, so I still carry my culture. And those of you who are wondering, yeah, of course, in my home, you will definitely, get food. Yes. And yeah, so that's the little I could gather about hospitality. But dears, tell me, where are you from? And, how do you treat people, with hospitality? Do you have, do you show hospitality there? And let's learn and, from each other. And of course, like, share, and even consider subscribing. And yeah, let's grow together. Thank you for this time and stay tuned for more stories. Bye.